As we understand, land revenue system is one of the fundamental systems that led to a deeper implication and economic drain in India. So three important land revenue systems were brought in India. If I draw the map of India here, on the map of India, if you want to understand, in the regions of Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, that is the northern region, was the system which is known as Mahalwari. On the eastern side, which is the present Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, the system was permanent settlement. And in the south, the provinces of Bombay and Madras, the system was known as Rotwari system. So three different land revenue systems which were organized. Now let's understand each of these land revenue systems one by one. First of all, we'll understand the systems whom they were propounded by. So permanent settlement was given by Lord Cornwallis. And Lord Cornwallis gave this system in the year 1793. The next was Rotwari system. Rotwari system was given by Reed and Thomas Munro. So two important persons, Reed and Munro, who laid down the Rotwari system, and this was in 1792. Finally, the Mahalwari system, and this was brought by William Bentinck. And William Bentinck brought this system in 1822. Now, what was the difference in the land revenue? The idea was, as Britishers transformed from a trading community to an administrative community, what they did was they wanted revenue. Why they wanted money? They wanted money to maintain their expenses related to their army, expenses related to their establishments, to run their businesses, and even the industries in Britain. So for all those purposes, they required revenue. Now, these governor generals were looking for generating revenue. So what was the best source? In India, the best source of revenue generation they found was land. So three important systems started to grow. The permanent settlement was a unique system where zamindars were made or given an important position. So what happened? There were people who were cultivators. So they were cultivating the land. Now those farmers or peasants who were cultivating the land had to pay a proportion of their tax to the zamindars, and zamindars had to pay the cash to the British company, and this was the system under permanent settlement. Now, what was the difference in the Rotwari system? In the Rotwari system, Reed and Munro believe that why to involve zamindars? When zamindars are involved, we don't get a substantial proportion out of it. So just throw away the zamindars and interact directly with the cultivators. So they called the peasants as Roths, and therefore the system known as Rotwari, and they started collecting the taxes directly from the farmers. Clear? Now, when they were collecting taxes directly from the farmers, this was highly ineffective because the tax rates were increasing constantly, and it was becoming difficult for the farmers to survive. The next system, which was introduced in the Northwest Frontier Province in the regions of Punjab and Uttar Pradesh, was Mahalwari system. Mahalwari system was a little different from permanent settlement and Rotwari system. Under permanent settlement and Rotwari system, we said either the land tax has to be given by one way or the other. So either the cultivator gives it to the zamindar and zamindar gives it to the company. But under permanent settlement, it was felt that zamindars are the middlemen. So why keep them? Remove them. So in the Rotwari system, from the farmers, direct tax collection was done by the state. So state or the company we can say, but the only thing was the zamindars were removed, but the taxes and the implications on the peasants remained the same. The Mahalwari system grew as a result of private establishments and private developments, and it said that sometimes it might so happen that peasants do not have enough to give them, to give the tax or to pay the tax. So what can be done is, let them keep their land, or actually give the land to someone else, sell off the land, or keep their land on a contractual basis, against which they can get some money and pay their taxes. So that system was allowed in Mahalwari system. So we'll understand each of these three systems one by one. This was just a background information to have a clear difference between the three systems. So to start with permanent settlement. Permanent settlement was started, as we said, by Lord Cornwallis. He was the second Governor General to Bengal, and he started the system in 1793. And the idea was definitely to collect revenue, very obvious. The state wanted the revenue to maintain their army, to maintain their establishments, and to run their industries. The taxes were paid by the farmers to the zamindars, and zamindars were forced to actually pay the tax only in cash. This is again important. Zamindars could not pay in kind. So zamindars had to pay in cash to the company. The zamindars' right of ownership was made hereditary. That means the son of zamindar would automatically become a zamindar, and that was a way to keep them loyal to the company. So this was one of the ways the zamindars were kept loyal to the company, so that they don't raise their voice against the company. Another important thing that we need to understand. Now, since this happened, the whole system of tenancy was in the hand of zamindars, and zamindars started to become a dominant section in the society. The peasants, the cultivators, the farmers had no say. So the position of the farmers, the peasants or the cultivators deteriorated, and they were living at the mercy of the zamindar. That's very important to note under this system. So initially it was in the regions of Bengal and Bihar. Later it was extended to parts of Orissa, north districts of Madras, the present day Chennai, and even in the east of Uttar Pradesh, that is the regions of Varanasi. So that was the extent which it is spread to, but this system was not appraised by a lot, since there was huge plight onto the farmers and the cultivators. So the next system which ran in parallel was the Rothwari system, brought by, as we discussed, Reed and Munro in 1792. And under this system, the taxes were directly collected from the farmers. But there were three important drawbacks of the system. First was the land revenue, which was fixed for the farmers, was exorbitantly high. The farmers found it difficult to pay. The second important was the government had a limited ability to increase the revenue at any time they wanted. So this was for a fixed period of 20 to 30 years and was updated every 20 to 30 years. So if they wanted to change it, increase it in between, it was actually very difficult. And the third important thing was, when the produce was done, either if the produce is good, the farmers can definitely pay it. But sometimes, let's say if it is a famine that has struck the region, what would happen? The farmers would not be in a position to pay the revenue, but still they were forced to pay the revenue. And as a result, the state of farmers, or who were called as Roths, deteriorated significantly under the Rothwari system. But the most important thing under the Rothwari system was there was no concept of zamindars, and this system was popular in the regions of Bombay and Madras in the south regions. Now, since there was a direct interaction with the cultivators, it was again important to know that the zamindars were replaced by whom? They were replaced by one single zamindar. So what we could say was the company, and that British company became one single zamindar. So rather than having many zamindars, it was just a single zamindar in the hands of whom fell the complete system of land revenue, right? So this was the second important system that we discussed, which was the Rothwari system. The third important system is the Mahalwari system, which developed in the regions of Ganga Valley, Northwest Frontier Province, the regions of Punjab and the west of Uttar Pradesh, which is basically the area of Ganga, as we said. So the revenue was made on village to village or mandal to mandal, as it was called as. So mandal was also called as estate. So estate to estate or village to village settlement was introduced. Now, as we mentioned, if the farmer or the peasant is not able to pay the revenue, what was done? A private land ownership model was created, and this private land ownership model said that either you could keep your land on a contractual basis, you could transfer the land to someone else, or in extreme cases you can sell the land. So those were the options which were given to the cultivators, that they had the right to transfer the land or sell the land. If the land could not be transferred or sold, then the government was not in a position to collect the revenue. So government by all means wanted to keep itself safe. So government wanted that our revenue should not suffer, and since our revenue should not suffer, do what you can, what it takes to do. So either transfer the land to someone and then pay our taxes, or sell a parcel of land and then pay our taxes. But we require the taxes from our end. Because the system was introduced, because they found that under the under the Rotwari system and the permanent settlement, it was getting difficult for the company to collect the revenue. Again, one of the drawbacks of permanent settlement was British company felt that their revenue is divided between them and the zamindars. So they are not getting what they actually can get. A little of it, a proportion of it goes to the zamindars. So company was always keeping a keen eye on getting more revenue, and since they found that permanent settlement was not a good option, Mahalwari was relatively better, because by some means or the other we can actually get the revenue. Now again, collection of revenue went smooth during the time the things were well, but there were episodes of severe famine. Now when there were episodes of severe famine, why they happened? They happened because there was large scale poverty, and under the British company, they started to grow cash crops which could earn them money. For example, sugarcane, indigo, opium, and as a result, the basic crops of wheat and rice were not grown. So there was an acute food shortage which came in India, and this was one of the causes which were deep rooted for making the cultivators further poor. Because of those periods of famine, they were not in a position to pay more, and the company wanted their share by all means. So there was a fundamental change in the system which was introduced under the Mahalwari system, and this was the idea of private land ownership, under which the people were allowed to transfer the land to someone or sell the land to someone, and in lieu of them pay the taxes to the company. So this was one of the ways they thought would maintain stability in collection of the revenue system, and these are the three important land revenue systems that were prevalent in India. All the three land revenue systems, the differences between those three we have discussed. Extremely important content that you must be familiar with. Next, we would understand is the concepts related to the drain of wealth and the changes in the educational policy.